Hey, welcome back to True Vine Talks, everybody.
So last time we did emotionally immature parents, and that's kind of spurred on some conversation. And we're thinking, why not talk about navigating life with a narcissistic parent? Ooh,
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. And I would say probably over 50% of the people that I see in therapy have experienced this.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of clickbait in TikTok, Instagram reels about narcissists. You're a narcissist. You're a narcissist. And the doctor that I listened to, she's done a great job of kind of defining the difference between a narcissistic trait and what is narcissistic personality disorder. And I want to give her credit because
Yeah.
she is amazing. I listen to her very frequently, and right now I'm listening to her awesome book. Um, Let me see if I can find it. Don't You Know Who I Am? How to Stay Sane in an Era of Narcissistic. Where'd it go?
It's
Narcissistic.
playing.
Sorry, How to Stay
That's
Sane in
okay.
an Era of Narcissism, Entitlement, and Incivility. Ooh, Dr. Ramani Durvasula. I hope I'm saying that correct. If I'm not, I do hope to get corrected. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So how does she explain the difference for us, Linda, between, you
Yeah,
have narcissism, that's a personality trait that anybody can possess. And
yeah,
then you've got narcissistic personality disorder, which is like a diagnosable mental health issue.
yeah. So a narcissistic trait is, the person is comes from the Greek god Narcissus. And I was watching
Oh,
some of those clips. It's like, the Greek god, he looked at himself in the pond and he just kept looking at himself because he was so handsome and beautiful. And he became stuck on himself that he missed out on love, attachment, purpose, and meaning in life. And
oh, wow. I've never heard that story. Thanks for
yeah,
sharing.
yes, I love that. I love that story. It's about the Greek gods. And
Mhm.
because he got so stuck on himself, you know, he just couldn't function in life. And that's a great way to distinguish between narcissistic traits and narcissistic personality disorder. He became dysfunctional in his life. So even though that's, what do we call it? In literature, it's a fiction.
Yeah.
If false, it's
Yep.
fiction. Great God,
Fictional story. Yeah.
thank you. But then a narcissistic personality disorder, which he possessed, he had a grandiose sense of self and his beauty. We see a lot of that. And, it doesn't help that they give us all these little modifications to our
Yeah.
aesthetics. Um, Preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success. Unlimited. I'm gonna be a supermodel. I'm 5'3". I can do it. No, I'm 5'3". I'm too short. I'll never have long legs. And that's okay. I'm not obsessed with becoming no supermodel, right? But that's that even if the limitations are there, you don't believe in limitations
For yourself.
for
Everybody
yourself.
else has limitations, but you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that problematic? Problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Believe he or she is special, unique, a standout, no matter what. Yeah. Narcissistic personality disorder. And
Mhm.
remember, you have to meet five or more of these symptoms. Whenever you diagnose someone, five or more of these symptoms to meet the criteria. And a psychiatrist or a licensed professional in mental health can only be the ones to diagnose this
Right.
disorder.
Yes.
Why is that important, Rachel?
Well, if I think because it, like we're talking about, it gets through the word narcissist gets thrown around a lot. Like
Mhm.
just because someone was mean to you doesn't mean they're a narcissist. Does not mean they have narcissistic personality disorder. It's more nuanced than that,
Well
right?
said.
They have to be meeting like all of the criteria, not just like one or two things. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
like, some of the things that we're going to talk about today, if you're like, oh, like, that resonates, or oh, that resonates, could your parent have narcissistic personality disorder? Sure, I'm not going to rule it out. They might,
they
but
might.
more than likely, they probably just have narcissistic traits.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about how it's on a spectrum. Now, on one end of the spectrum would be healthy confidence and self-esteem and just knowing that like I am worthy and valuable as a human being, but I don't think I'm better than everybody else, you know.
Exactly.
And on the other side of the spectrum would be narcissism, which is like I am the greatest of all time. I'm better than everybody else. Nobody will ever compare to me, right? That is narcissism.
Yes. And I'm putting tea tree oil out because there's flies.
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, smart. And then
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle is what is most common, and this is what we run into most of the time. And this is people that, maybe they struggle with empathy. They're not able to always empathize with how other people are feeling. Sometimes they can. Most of the time they struggle, right? Because it's hard for them to take accountability. It's hard for them to apologize when they know they've done something wrong or hurt someone. They need a lot of external validation, praise me, validate me.
Mhm.
Um, like I said, they avoid accountability, but they're not necessarily abusive, right? If they're
Right.
abusive, that is narcissism.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. They really enjoy making other people feel small. So that's a significant trait. You know,
Yes.
when you're
Of
around them
narcissism.
of
Yeah.
narcissists, yes. Like if you're around them and they say something, you're like, oh, I don't feel so great anymore. Yeah,
Hmm.
or like good enough, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They require excessive admiration. They're looking for people to love, 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 love everything they do and say. Hold on to every little thing they do, just everything.
Hmm. They
You know,
want that main character energy.
the narrative of the story we talked
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm. They have a sense of entitlement. This is a big one. And the doctor, I want to keep saying her name correctly, Romani, she was saying that all this blew me away in her book. She said all generations have some sense of entitlement. I was giving it to one particular generation, boomers, but then I was like, I was giving it to one generation. They just seem more entitled to me. But she said all of us have some level of sense of entitlement because at one point, I don't know if you heard of Dr. Spock, Rachel. Did you
I
ever?
have. Yeah, I've heard of
Yeah.
Dr. Spock.
And isn't he the one? Is he the one that said, "Oh, don't be too praiseworthy," or was he the one who said, "Be constantly praising everything someone does"? I'm trying
Oh,
to remember.
I wish I could remember. Yeah, I
We'll look it
can't.
up as we're doing this, but you know, oh, everything you do is great.
Okay, that was Dr. Spock. Everything you do is great.
My sweeper's getting ready to go off. Sorry, life stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's all
like
right.
everybody, like, you're the best at everything.
Okay. Yeah, which would I can see how that would create entitlement, right? Yeah. Brief segue, because I'm just thinking how there's like two types of narcissist. There's the overt, narcissist and there's a covert narcissist. And I think when people hear the word narcissist, they kind of automatically think of the overt one, which is like super grandiose, attention seeking, very critical, very controlling, all those things that we've said so far. The covert narcissist, I personally think, is much more common. They
Oh.
just get away with it a little more easily because they're not so obvious about it. They're harder to spot. This is the person that always plays the victim. They use guilt to manipulate. They seem like really fragile, like you have to tiptoe around them because you're like always going to offend them or hurt their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
This is that parent that, like, if you bring something to them, like you're upset and you try to, like, you're starting a conversation hoping to come to resolution, like you just want them to say, like, hey, I see how that hurt your feelings and I'm sorry. But it never goes that way. Instead, they're like, are you serious right now? Don't you know how much I've done for you? Don't you think you're being a little selfish? You're like, wait a second.
Hold up. Hold up. Thanks. Yeah. That is, yeah, that's
Really? Yeah.
subtle, but it's gaslighting your feelings. Yeah. They notoriously gaslight you.
Hmm.
Oh, you're just too sensitive, Rachel.
Hmm.
Maybe
Hmm.
you're an asshole. Truly, I mean, that's
Seriously.
what she calls them in
Yeah.
the book. It's like there's someone else that wrote a book about assholes. That's kind of an emotional vampire where they gaslight you when they've said something that was unkind. Whereas a person that's functional and healthy and secure, they'd be like, "Oh, Rachel, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings when I said your hair was frizzy." Or
Right.
wish my hair's frizzy. Yeah, it's like they would
Just
say,
acknowledge that was rude of me to say. I didn't have a filter in that moment. I'm sorry.
"Boom, accountability."
Done. But the narcissist, especially the covert narcissist, will just be excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. This is why the harmful, mean, nasty thing I did is fine.
That's true. Everything I do is right.
I'll say sorry, but I don't mean it because I don't
Sorry you
really
feel
think I
that
did
way.
anything wrong. Exactly.
Sorry you felt that way, Rachel, when I said your hair was frizzy. Sorry that made you feel some kind of way. That's
Mhm.
gaslighting and dismissive. So you always feel dismissed in the presence of a narcissistic personality disorder person. Dr.
Mhm.
Spock, let me clarify. Dr. Spock actually he said trust your instincts and be flexible and affectionate with your children. He expressed that parents should be responsive, and this is through the AI Google generated. So he actually was treat children as individuals. I do think he gave an inflated self-esteem, is the way I was described to me. Like, oh wow, you woke up. Oh wow, you yawned. Oh wow, like just over. Oh my goodness, like you want
Gotcha.
to day, but I
If
think
people took that to the extreme.
right,
Okay.
we all do. Humans do that.
Mhm.
So that's where the sense of self and individualism she talks about in the book is individualism is separate from narcissistic personality disorder. You're
Okay.
taking yourself and you're building self-confidence and you have
Yes.
a task and you can do it. It's different than just you're just great. You're just so great. Looking at my boy and say, you're just extraordinary, wonderful. Even though I feel all those things, like I don't want to make him too puffed up. Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Let's think of narcissism itself, just that term, that trait,
Mm-hmm.
as, like I said, a spectrum, which is just like, every single person lands somewhere on that narcissism scale from zero, like we'll just say one. I don't think anyone's truly at zero. One to
No.
10. One to
Right.
10. 10 being narcissistic personality disorder. Just like everybody's on the scale somewhere of like being anxious or being depressed or being, I don't know, anything, kind,
Kind or
you
agreeable. She said that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a trait. That's a trait of a personality. And that doesn't
yeah,
mean because someone is confident that they're necessarily narcissistic. And people get those two mixed up.
yeah. I think it really boils down to the level of empathy someone is
Oh,
capable of.
mm, mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah. Because if someone you know, a parent, friend, family member possesses some of these traits of like that we've talked about, the negative ones, but they also have the ability to be like, "Oh man, did you hear what happened to so and so? I really feel so bad for them. That's awful. They must be going through such a hard time." And it's genuine. They're not
Right.
like just gossiping. Like that's empathy, so that person can't be like have narcissistic personality disorder because they're expressing empathy in that moment.
Very good. Well said, Rachel. The ability to empathize with the plight of others.
Yeah.
That's that's a genuine person who doesn't possess a narcissistic personality disorder. So we want more of that.
Yeah.
Um, So the entitlement, when you hear that word entitlement, what do you think of? Like, what comes to your mind?
I think of someone that believes that they are deserving of special treatment and they get very upset if they're told no,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and they're very sensitive to unfairness,
Right.
like ever at all.
Yeah.
I think most of us have a negative reaction to injustice or unfairness that makes us frustrated or angry. But like this person will have a full blown temper tantrum because
Huh?
it rained on a day that they had planned to go to the pool. Well, like, or whatever.
God, why did you make it rain? I just say, hey, God, can we have a sunny day?
Yeah.
He says, no, we got to water the plants. You
Mhm.
accept it, like that life is not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. You win some and you lose some.
Yeah. The ability to be flexible. You
That's
know,
what she says so much.
narcissists don't have it.
They
Rigid.
don't. They are the Karens of the world. They're like complaining about my steak's too rare. Take it back. My
Mhm.
potatoes aren't warm enough. Like, damn it, you need to fix this. I mean, just this
Mhm.
overarching sense of if it isn't perfect, I don't want it.
And that extends to their relationship with their children when we're talking about a narcissistic parent. Their love is always conditional.
Always.
You are only ever feel good enough if you are meeting their need as the child,
Mm-hmm.
their need for validation, their need to have this ego boost. You're playing this specific sport or in this specific activity because it's what they wanted you to do, because it makes them feel or look a certain way. And they don't care that you didn't want to do that. You wanted to, I'm going to make something up, like ride horses, right? But they don't want you doing that. They want you running track because that's what they did and they were really good at it. And now you are an extension of them. They get to live vicariously through you, but they're only proud of you if you get first place.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Very well said. Yes. If you don't make me look good, then I don't. Mm, I'm dismissing you. It's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, how does that impact the child that is living in that environment for 18
Mm,
years of their life or more?
yeah. Yes, developmentally. Well, that's you're gonna feel like you exist only for the purpose of making someone else look good. Ooh,
Yeah. You're going to learn that love is conditional. And in order to feel lovable and worthy, I have to figure out what everybody else needs and meet that need.
yep. Yeah, yeah. And this can come into the church setting sometimes too, is like if you're not, you know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you're not meeting the criteria to be here. Bye.
Mm,
I mean, it's kind of similar, and it's kind of like, well, that doesn't. God loves us all, and He accepts us all, by the way, and loves us
mhm,
unconditionally. And relationship difficulties are going to ensue because the kid only sees the parent as like, oh, they're perfect. I need to prop them up some more. I better do this right so that they look good. And if I mess up, then oh man, I'm just such a disappointment. It's black and white for them too. You think
mhm.
that's accurate?
You
Yeah.
learn to perform for approval, right?
Yeah.
It's uh, living with a narcissistic parent breeds people pleasing and perfectionism
Amen. Oh
because
yeah.
that's what you had to do
Mm-hmm.
to get your emotional need for love met.
Even just to be seen and heard.
Yeah, just noticed or acknowledged at all.
Yeah. And if you weren't performing, they weren't showing up. The parent was not showing up if you weren't performing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're like, oh, my worth is only based upon my performance.
I got to get the straight A's. I got to be the best at whatever I'm doing extracurricularly.
hmm
Yeah. A lot of people, children that grow up with parents like this are riddled with guilt and shame
Yeah,
because they were taught that they were responsible for managing that parent's emotions and lifting them up. Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of a reverse parenting. What do we call it, Rachel? Like
Yeah.
when you're
The
a parent,
parentification of the
thank
child.
you.
Yeah.
So if you have a narcissistic or an emotional vampire for a parent, that could be any personality disorder. You become the parent,
hmm
and you're too young developmentally to be their parent.
Yeah. But you become the emotional caretaker or the peacekeeper within the home. And it's
Thank
incredibly unfair.
So
Yeah.
unfair. You can't because you're in between the toxic individual and the non-toxic individual, or they're both toxic, and you're like in between. You're like, how do I manage this?
Yeah. And
Oh,
so if you're an adult now and you're constantly like, if you feel any sense that something is off with a friend, a partner, you're immediately like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Like, that's your first response.
yes,
You may have grown up in a household with a parent that had some narcissistic traits.
yep. Or an actual full-blown emotional vampire parent.
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah.
wonderful person introduce emotional vampire book to me. That's a good one. I highly recommend that people read
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. You're also going to have a really hard time trusting in general,
Yeah,
trusting other people, but also trusting yourself because
yeah,
you've been gaslit your entire childhood. And so you're like, wait a second. You don't trust your own memory. Am I remembering that correctly? Didn't that happen? Maybe I am just overreacting. Like, oh, maybe this is just me being anxious again. Like,
yeah. You gaslight yourself. I've had a lot of
mhm,
clients gaslight themselves when they had
mhm.
toxic parents. I'm like, that is your protector protecting your parents.
Yeah.
You think so, Rachel?
Well, because that's what your parent conditioned you to do.
Oh, they trained
Prioritize
you.
me at all costs.
Well said. Trained you up to be their protector, their everything.
Yeah.
And developmentally, you're not there. Your wiring is not there.
hmm in this developmental phase when you should be like learning how to be independent and trust yourself and like developing a sense of identity, you're not allowed. The parent doesn't do let you do that. They don't encourage it, they don't foster it. They actually shame it and criticize it and force you to abandon yourself and become
Mm,
whatever version of a child they need.
parent child, baby.
Hmm.
Parent child. Abandon themselves, Rachel. Can you speak a little more on that? Abandoning themselves.
Yeah. So, like, you learn to detach from or hide these parts of you that you know if you expressed or shared, they would be criticized, right? So, like, for example, if you are deep down inside, you're an artist and you love to paint or draw, and you would love to be able to hang your paintings up all over the house. You want so badly for your parent to like put it on the fridge or in a frame on the wall, but you don't ever draw or paint anywhere where they would see you because anytime you did, they would make fun of it, crinkle it up, throw it in the trash,
Hmm.
scoff and laugh at you. Oh, you think you're an artist? That's cute. Ha 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 ha. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's so rude.
So it's little
Yeah.
things like that over and over and over and over again that you tuck away, you hide because there's that inner core belief of like either I'm not enough or
Mm,
I'm too much. And
mm.
if people see that, if they notice it, they'll leave.
Well said. If they notice that if I'm too much, they're gonna leave me. Yeah. If I have too many needs. Hmm. And that's
Or
how
if
you
I'm
get it.
not perfect.
If I'm not perfect, they'll leave. And that's how people get into dysfunctional adult relationships because
Mhm.
they are looking for repair
Yeah,
from their childhood and they attract someone's similar traits to their parent. And
yeah,
it's quite the journey. And when you get into therapy, you start recognizing, wow, I really just needed my mom to say, that's a beautiful picture. Good job.
yep,
Great.
yep. Yeah,
Mm,
have a tendency to find themselves in adult relationships with emotionally unavailable partners.
emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
That's the inability to love and care for your needs as well as their own. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, really hard as an adult in relationships to set boundaries
Yeah.
because you were essentially taught to not have any. Respect everybody else's, but don't have any of your own.
Hmm. Yeah. It's like your playground can be wrecked, but theirs is pristine. Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because you're just a tool in their world, a narcissistic personality disorder. You're just a tool.
Yeah. Everybody else is allowed to say no and set limitations except for you. This is
Hmm.
what you grow up learning.
Very
So you
unhealthy
just feel like a doormat and you don't
all
know
the
what to
time.
do about it
Well said.
because you're afraid if you stop doing that, who's going to stay? You'll be
Oh.
alone. And that's terrifying. That's so scary.
Yeah, because you were already alone as a kid.
Yeah. And through therapy, that's what people end up realizing. They end up realizing I'm terrified of being alone, and I've been alone truly my whole life. No one's actually really ever been there for me. I'm the one that's always there for everybody else.
And that's depleting, exhausting spiritually, emotionally, and physically.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And it's like, no wonder you're depressed and anxious. Who wouldn't be? Truly.
Absolutely. I'm thinking of a part two right now, like a
Mm,
part two to this, like of, I don't know what you're feeling or thinking, like how to manage these people in your life that, I know we did the emotionally immature parents, but there's ways. I think there's some strategies that we could talk about to our listeners about how to manage those narcissistic personality disorders or parents in your life.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like talking about going low contact or no contact, how to
Yeah.
grieve the parent that you deserved but did never had, all of that.
Yeah. And what's the other part of our outline? Recognizing the signs. I think we covered that.
I think so. I've got some examples
Thank
of
you.
narcissistic parents, if that would help. So there's like the competitive parent that's like constantly comparing themselves to their child. They undermine their children's accomplishments. So,
Yep.
like, let's say if a daughter gets praise, the mom might say, well, I was doing that at your age and I was doing it better. Like, okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. So it's like jealousy, criticism, never supportive. Another really common one here is like if there's multiple children in the home, there becomes this split dynamic of the golden child and the scapegoat. So one child is like excessively favored, like they can do no wrong, while the other child is constantly blamed and criticized, like for anything that goes wrong. And so those siblings get pitted against each other. Yeah, it
Yeah.
creates this rivalry.
Narcissistic parents that are diagnosed with personality disorder love to pit the children against each other so that it's part of their storyline. Well, that's the bad one. That's the black sheep of the family.
Yeah. Because they thrive in drama.
Yes.
They like almost have to have drama happening at all times and they will create it if there is none.
Just
It's
said,
so I know we're just sitting here shaking our heads like so weird. I don't
well, I experienced it, so I'm like, I have a
know.
lot of disgust for the behavior. It's just like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like, wouldn't you want your legacy to be, I left my kids in a better position relationally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically before I die? That's not even a thought. I'm
Yeah.
like, where did you go? The
Yeah.
dark
Just
side.
living in an alternate reality, but completely
Yes.
unaware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No mind
So,
sight. No mind sight. Mm-mm.
yeah. Yeah. So when a lot of times if my clients are trying to like psychoanalyze or understand where someone narcissistic, like why they're doing what they do, I'm like, let's take a break and shift to something that's going to be more useful because we are never going to know why they're doing what they're doing. They live in an alternate reality.
Thank you.
Let's just focus on how it's impacting you and what you
That's
want to do
so
about
good.
it because that's all we can do.
That's all you can do as their therapist. Manage what's happening for them and how to set boundaries with those people versus what happened to my parent? What made them like this? And I'm not saying that you can't have grace or forgiveness in whatever the trauma was, because obviously a narcissistic personality disorder has experienced some level of trauma, most likely.
Yeah.
100%, but most likely.
Yeah.
So you can't do the therapy for that person, that parent, or that toxic person. You can't be in therapy for them. And that is, I like that you said that. Like, what can you do to help you in the now? That's where we want our clients to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I love when people want to empathize and understand their parent.
Of course,
I think that's also a part of the manipulation that they've experienced their entire life, being taught, feel sorry for me.
I'm the victim. Yeah. Feel sorry for me. It's not about you. You just exist in my story. Yep. Well said.
Yeah. Which leads
Material.
us to the martyr parent that is constantly reminding their children all that they've sacrificed and how fragile and helpless she is, right? And
Scarlett O'Hara gone
sends you
away.
on long, dramatic guilt trips for
Yeah.
having needs.
Yeah.
After all I've done for you, how could you
Oh,
treat me this way?
I've done all the things. You're so you're so ungrateful to your mom. It's like, what did you do? Make me
When
feel
it's like,
small?
when like you're not even asking for anything huge. You're like, I'm sorry, I
Mm.
won't be able to come over for dinner on Saturday. We're going to the zoo or something. Like we're taking our kids to the water
How
park or
dare you,
whatever.
Rachel? How dare you take your kids to the zoo and not come see me and do my laundry and make me a dinner?
Right.
I'm not
And
kidding.
this is a random example, but like it happens in
No.
people's
That's,
real life.
yes, I've heard it and
Yeah.
heard it and heard it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm. Come do my laundry because you're my servant. You're not my kid, you're my servant. Just
Yeah.
saying, I hear this and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, big fat no. I'm not your servant. I'm your child. I'm your adult child. I'm not your servant. Mm-mm, nope.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the next one's the image obsessed parent. And this kind of goes along with, I think, what you were saying with some church community or religious community types. It's like they're more concerned with how the family looks from the outside than they are concerned about how anyone feels within the family. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you have to achieve as the child, you have to perform, you have to behave perfectly in order for us to maintain appearances. Because
Yeah.
how dare you ever embarrass me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't bring shame upon our family by being, you know,
Yeah.
that way or looking that way or getting a tattoo or
Hmm. Dyeing your
smoking.
hair a certain way or getting in trouble at school or, yeah.
You've got an image to keep up.
Hmm.
Well, the glass, what is it? Glass windows you've got. You need to look inside and see what's going on inside.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
So those are all the examples you had, Miss Rachel, or is there more?
There's one left, and that's the emotionally withholding parent. And this is, I think, what people think of like the stereotypical narcissist that's just cold, critical, never shows any affection, never gives any approval, unless you're out in public and the kid makes you look good. Like you're at the grocery store and someone's like, oh, your teacher is, and oh, I just love having little Johnny in my class. He's so great. And then that parent that never gives you any affection in the privacy of your own home throws their arm around you and hugs you, like, oh, isn't he great? Like, and you're
Oh,
just like, what the heck is going on?
oh yeah. It's when your light makes their light brighter. And
Yep.
that's the only time you're relevant to that parent.
So back to that love is conditional.
Yeah. And that feels awful.
Yeah.
Hmm. I'm resonating.
Yeah.
Hmm. It's good. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we were just hoping that we have done a good job for our listeners understanding what the narcissistic personality disorder is versus narcissistic traits and what it's like to be the child of a narcissistic person.
Yeah. How it
Mm,
impacts you long term, well into adulthood.
well into
It as a child, experiencing these things truly does shape your nervous system, and it impacts the way that you then move through the world as an
yeah.
adult.
Yeah, your view of self and view of others is highly distorted from the lens of if I'm not making that individual feel great and look good, then I don't have any relevance in their life, period.
Mm,
So you'll move away from people if you feel like you're not doing enough for them
yeah.
when
Yeah.
they may just want your presence. Hmm, imagine
Hmm.
that. They like you for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that feels weird. I have had people say there must be something wrong with someone if they genuinely like me.
Oh,
Isn't that like, you don't even have to tell me anything about your parents. I already know if you share that with me. Like, we're obviously going to talk about it in therapy, but like,
right.
that's just,
Say
I
that again,
already
babe.
know where we're going. Like, they will share if someone,
Yeah,
like a potential romantic partner, right? If
sure.
someone genuinely likes me and I
Right.
haven't had to anything for them, there must be something wrong with them.
Oh,
Like they don't see, I've somehow tricked them, right?
oh,
But I haven't had to try, They're used to like putting in all this effort, to not trick people, but like keep them from seeing the not enough or the too much. And so if someone just is drawn to them and finds
mm,
them attractive and funny, it's like that sets off some kind of alarm like I can't trust this. It's too
right.
good to be true. It was
Ah,
too easy.
well,
Love's not easy. Love's hard. I've got to earn it.
yeah. That's the protector part of yourself showing up, isn't it? When you're like, oh, this person don't like me for me. I'm gonna keep myself guarded. They're looking, they couldn't possibly like me for me. Yeah, that's good. I'm not good. I'm saying it's in the
Right.
implementation. You guys know
Yeah.
what I mean because it
It's a
sucks.
good example of
Yeah.
how it impacts you. Yeah.
Right. And that's why I love that I met Charlie when I was dirt poor and didn't know who in the world I was, what I was doing. Met him on a college campus. We're both broke college kids. Yeah. So there's something to be said about just liking each other for each other's company.
Yes.
And he's a dog lover. So there we go. Check, check, check.
Yes. So sweet. So I'm
So
with you. I think our next episode should be on like a deep dive into how to heal.
yeah, and we'll reference emotional vampires too. I think that's a good one for folks to hear and listen to. So we're
Yeah.
excited. Thank you all for listening. And if you have experienced a narcissistic parent or individual that was close to you in life, and you want to get healing for your inner child, Rachel is now accepting new clients.
I have a couple spots.
Woo!
Yeah.
Hannah is, Caitlin is, and Caitlin is. So we'd love for you to reach out. And our website is www.truevonewv.com.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, everybody take care.
Bye.
Bye.